Whether it be sipping on a cold brew at a working brewery to waking up to epic natural views, we're going to share some of our most memorable places we've stayed.
And I do love a good private hot tub. So for me, that was an amazing, relaxing experience.
And lucky for us, when we were visiting, it happened to be National Bourbon Day.
Which I didn't even know was a thing, but I'll celebrate that.
What's memorable to me is the peacefulness of being in this valley with these buttes and just having nature just outside of a national park in a beautiful part of the country. Or even so many years ago when Theodore Roosevelt came through, you realize that this is what we need to preserve for the future.
No light pollution, just dark skies with amazing star views.
No cell, no Wi-Fi, no sounds, and no light pollution. The total eclipse. And I don't mean of my heart. I mean of the path that cut through the USA in April 2024. We made sure we were right in the middle of it so that we could observe.
Yeah, it got dark. The crickets came out. It was an amazing experience. The quiet and the beautifulness and just the attention to detail drew me in. Whether you are planning a national park visit or you're daydreaming of a more interesting kind of travel, you're in the right place.
We're Jay and Bea, and at the beginning of 2021, we hit the road. Permanently. We traded our city apartment for a constant stream of Airbnbs, new states, and places. And we wouldn't have it any other way. Come along with us as we explore all the U.S. and beyond has to offer. And join us as we continue
Living on the Way.
Hello there, and welcome back to Living on the Way, the podcast where we talk about living on the road, working remotely, and squeezing every drop out of our location-independent life.
And today, we're diving into one of our favorite parts of On the Way, which is the places we stay. Not every overnight stop is just a hotel and a bed. Some of them stay with us. I'm Jay.
I'm Bea, and oftentimes, since we travel full-time, there's a tendency to find the cheapest place or the most convenient place and it just be a hotel, which is great, especially with Jay's status. He gets 4 p.m. checkout at Marriott properties and we can work all day, but it's not always just where you go. It can also be where you stay. And for us, that can change the experience you have with new places.
Absolutely. So whether it be sipping on a cold brew at a working brewery to waking up to epic natural views, we're going to share some of our most memorable places we've stayed, which are oftentimes near the national parks that we're visiting.
Whether you are planning a national park visit or you're daydreaming of a more interesting kind of travel, you're in the right place. Let's kick it off in Waynesboro, Virginia. We stayed at Stablecraft Brewing for a full week of work. And also fun.
That was a total hidden gem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can picture this, it's a working brewery and cidery on a farm. It has a beautiful view of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It has cows in the pasture, and the patio for the brewery is just a couple steps away from the front door of the cabins.
It was a peaceful but very productive and honestly, a perfect setup for remote work. They had fast internet. We didn't have to provide our own. And while there was plenty to do around the area, we didn't really leave that much. We did a quick drive on the Blue Ridge Parkway. And then on our way out, we did Shenandoah.
The Blue Ridge Parkway leading into Shenandoah was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a few minutes away from Stablecraft.
And we had our own private hot tub looking out at those amazing Blue Ridge Mountains. And I do love a good private hot tub. So for me, that was an amazing, relaxing experience.
And although we didn't take the brewery tour, we definitely were over there every day that was open, sampling pretty much every single option that they had, because you got to figure out which ones you like the best, and you're there. And overall, we loved it. There's horses grazing in the pasture. They had live music a couple of nights, and it was a very relaxing experience.
Right? You got to do your homework by trying everything, and we did a handful of flights. Do you remember your favorite?
No, I don't remember, but I do record them all in Untapped,
Mm-hmm.
the application. Do recommend using that, and I could always look it up.
Over the last several years, I've grown out of love with ciders, but there were some ciders on there that were kind of wine barrel flavored that I actually really liked. And they were also, they were pretty strong, so it was nice to be sipping where we stayed.
Absolutely. That's right. I'm not really a big cider fan, but they did have that peach one, which I did rate like 4 out of 5, which is the highest I think I've rated a cider in many, many moons.
Yes. And so as I was reminiscing about our stay at Stablecraft, it also reminded me of our stay at Cantilever Hotel, which is in Rainier, Minnesota, right outside of Voyageurs National Park. So it's a totally different vibe, but it's the same concept.
Staying where you eat, drink, and relax. That one was nice because it was right on the lake. So we could just spend our evenings watching the sunset. And if you're visiting the Voyageurs National Park area in northern Minnesota, Cantilever should be in the list. I mean, it's got a built-in distillery and it's right on the edge of Voyageurs National Park. I think we had like a 10-minute drive the next day to get to one of the visitor centers. And lucky for us, when we were visiting, it happened to be National Bourbon Day.
Which I didn't even know was a thing, but I'll celebrate that.
National anything sounds great to me. But so very enjoyable.
They had tours, and the rooms were beautiful and modern, but they had that industrial feel. And the distillery was just downstairs, and we actually did an impromptu tour. He was saying that the room is explosion proof, and just the kind of the technology that went into it was fascinating to learn about too.
Supposedly we weren't going to blow up, but if they were going to blow up, they have some shutters that automatically shut quickly to keep you in your hotel room, which are right next door to the distillery, from blowing up alongside of it. Supposedly. Luckily, we didn't need to test that.
And so, speaking of that tour, it was impromptu tour. So we just went back into the open garage door, and he talked us through the whiskey making. They also do gin and vodka. And we actually got a rare barrel tasting because they don't usually do that, just because it was a special tour, and experiences like that are what make these such unique stays. And I would highly suggest to find a stay like this. It adds so much to your experience, and it's more than a hotel room, more than a place you're just staying to get to the next place.
All right, let's shift gears from sipping to silence. One of our favorite cabins to stay at ever is where we're at currently from where we're taping, in Medora, North Dakota, which is just north of the South Unit at Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota.
Yeah, and we are recording from the porch here. And so for those of you who aren't watching this video, I'll try to explain it to you, but we're looking out over the red dirt driveway that leads up to our cabin. And then past that is just flat grassland with a nice big river, which I believe is the Little
Missouri.
The Little Missouri in the foreground. And then you go back, you see some trees that back up into this butte. This whole area is covered in like that Badlands terrain. So the butte in front of us has that edge of the Badlands, but then it has the flat plateau, grassland on top, very lush and green with red. So that's what we're looking at right now. And so if you are watching it through video, that's what you're going to see.
And you also have to remember that there's bison, turkeys, coyotes. We even saw some wild horses, and they're all just walking around at their own pace amongst this landscape. Very peaceful. I mean, there's no office here, there's no reception desk. It's just you, yourself, and I.
And these are self-service cabins, which means we had to bring our own bedding, which we live on the way. So we have our own pillows with pillowcases, but the blankets and the sheets we had to run to Walmart to grab.
You bring what you need. And for us, that involved bringing our Starlink so I could work for the past couple of days. And cell service is a bit limited, although connecting to the Starlink, you can use the Wi-Fi for cell calling.
And even with the internet, we've been, I think, more disconnected in the best way. You can come outside here like we are now and just be. You're surrounded by the hills, by wildlife. And if you want, it's totally quiet except for some birds, the occasional moo of a cow or two.
To get out this way, we drove out the north entrance of the South Unit on a red dirt road, and it looked just like a computer-generated scene. Bright red road against a green backdrop with some badlands. And it was very lush and beautiful, and of course wildlife, as I mentioned. What's memorable to me is the peacefulness of being in this valley with these buttes and just having nature just outside of a national park in a beautiful part of the country. Where even so many years ago when Theodore Roosevelt came through, you realize that this is what we need to preserve for the future.
Sitting here looking out at the amazing relaxing vistas, it reminds me of another stay we had in a very remote location like this. And that was do you remember it? It was the Hidden Canyon Retreat. And that was near the Great Basin National Park in Nevada.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Unforgettable. We ended up staying there because they had availability on a busy holiday weekend, but they had a set of camping cabins and a motel, but we had the camping cabins.
That was the only thing available.
Yeah, which was basically a fancy shed with a bed, but it was tucked deep into a canyon.
Right, because the road was wild. It was dirt road and it had switchbacks. But once you arrived, it was totally peaceful. All the sounds from the surrounding area, which is pretty quiet there by Great Basin, because that park in and of itself is very remote. But this area, silence, except for the water.
Stream or river, they're just flowing just outside where the cabins were.
And it's a dark sky area. And I have to say that it might have been the most dark we've ever seen outside of, I think, when we stayed in South Dakota. But no light pollution, just dark skies with amazing star views.
No cell, no Wi-Fi, no sounds, and no light pollution.
We had to stay on a weekend because we would not have been able to work remotely because we didn't have Starlink at the time. But also it was a camping cabin, and when we get to the next memorable stay, you're going to wonder why I say this, but I'm not a camping person, and I don't even necessarily like glamping if I have to walk to the restroom. But for 2 nights, it was perfectly fine. They had all the bedding you needed. The shed was temperature controlled. So it was a nice stay for a couple of days. I would not have stayed a week there.
Yeah, I am a camping person, but we find these nice places where we can compromise and both be very happy with.
Right. And another glamping camping stay that is one of our top stays has to have been a glamping stay at its absolute best.
Charmadillo, which is just outside Center Point, Texas, just north of San Antonio area.
It's set on 44 acres of rolling Texas hill country. And we stayed in one of their hillside A-frames, and it was a tiny 180 square feet built into the hillsides.
It was cozy, as they say, but it had enough room for all our stuff to be inside and for us to have comfort for when it was raining and we had to hang outside for a bit. But it had a nice memory foam mattress. We get some good sleep. And it was set up for comfort. It had robes, towels, mini fridge, coffee stations, even gave us some teas, and thankfully had air conditioning, which is important in Texas in the summer. And of course, the draw for us is we went there to be outside. So they had a nice deck just outside the A-frame with amazing views of the hill country.
That's right. And I did a lot of research to see what cabin deck would have the best view of the reason why we were in West Texas in the April of 2024.
The total eclipse. And I don't mean of my heart. I mean of the path that cut through the USA in April 2024. We made sure we were right in the middle of it so that we could observe.
Yeah, it got dark. The crickets came out. It was an amazing experience. And we had looked for a long time because either things were astronomically priced, like thousands of dollars a night, or there was no availability. And somehow we found this place. And despite feeling remote, you're close to all the communal amenities. They have a kitchen where you could cook your food on an amazing gas range. It had Wi-Fi in that area and a fridge where you could keep your foods if you didn't fit in the mini fridge. They also had a shower house down there. So the restroom was close to our cabin, and then they had another one further down that had showers and additional restrooms. And they also had a rustic cedar sauna, which I loved. It was a great experience.
And we stayed there almost a full week after the eclipse.
Yeah, it pulled us into the quiet. The morning coffees, writing, working in the shared lounge area that I mentioned with good Wi-Fi.
What do you think made us stick around longer than we thought we would?
I think just seeing the view and then how beautifully built the amenities were. It was a place where I could spend time. Jay even actually had to travel for work for a couple nights, and I spent time just the entire time up on the deck, just watching storms come in. And I think for me, I was actually very surprised. As someone who doesn't like to camp or glamp, the quiet and the beautifulness and just the attention to detail drew me in.
Right. It is more experiential, brings you closer to nature, different than the cold, repeatable cookie cutter hotels.
Mm-hmm. It's something we can do together.
Absolutely. These places really do just remind us to slow down.
And if you're out there planning a trip or even just a weekend escape, you don't have to be living on the way as we are, but keep your eyes out for the stays that feel a little different. They're a little harder to find maybe, or they're a little bit harder to do as far as planning. Whether that's a brewery, a cabin, or a hillside, they can completely shift your trip.
If you like this episode, we'd love if you scroll back through some of our other stories, from boat trips in Minnesota to traveling through bourbon country in Kentucky.
And don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We've got a ton more episodes coming, from Alaska to hopefully finishing all the national parks in the continental U.S. and everything in between. So, until next time, we will be
Living on the way.